Greetings, everyone, to the Vernon Richard Show. This episode is going to be okay. So on some hand, it's a little bit predictable. We're going to be reviewing our year. It's really interesting to talk about. It's mostly about the ups, isn't it? Less about the down. A little bit of downs, but it's mostly ups.
All about the ups, our highlights of the year. Some really open and honest, I think, reflections as well towards the end of the pod, which I think you'll enjoy. And some of the testing insights of the future of where testing's going, the role, and also where me and Vern are hoping to take ourselves and our content creation direction as well.
Yeah, so we hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you on the other side.
Enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Vernon Richard Show. Yay, woo, right. So, we are... What are we, Vernon? Where are we? What are we doing? So
I have no idea. Don't ask me. I was hoping you were going to tell me.
No, so what we're going to do, what everyone does at this time of year, right? We have a reflection. We look at some of the good, some of the highlights, maybe touch on a few of the bads, like not too much, keep the mood high. And then maybe look forward to 2025, see what's on our radars, our plans.
2025. Woo! Hyping about 2025.
There. Yeah, 2025. Where should we start? Should we start with the good? Start with the highlights.
Can we? I guess.
Start with the bad?
I don't know. See, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if there are any themes to cover, and then it's just good and bad in those themes. I don't know.
Well,
in fact, you know what? Just start. Where do you want to start? Just for yourself. When you think about 2024? What is just the big things for you? Like, whether it's good or bad doesn't matter.
I would say big things. I got a job, and I've kept the job. It's which is not just a reflection on my skills. That's a reflection on the economy, everything else, right? But I'm very, very happy to have a job. Listening to seeing people in the community and what's going on.
Mate,
I'm very happy to have my job.
It is wild in the economy right now. It is really, really nuts. Really.
Well, that aside, though, that as in like me just saying I've still got the job, it's actually been a really good year. I've thoroughly even, can't say that word, enjoyed being back in tech. As in, I know my previous role had tech elements, but being back in a tech company, we're doing all sorts of crazy stuff with AI, and the amount of stuff that gets spread around the business of innovations, ways of working, challenges, problems. There's 350 QEs across the whole of Slalom, the company I work for, and the Slack's always pinging, hey, we've built this crazy thing. Has anyone ever had this kind of problem? Has anyone done this? And, I used to get that from the wider community, but to get it, internally at your job, that's been great. And then just getting hands-on again with lots of different tech,
So that was the phrase I was going to say. Your hands are back on the tools. You're on the tools again. That's what it is. Yeah. That's what it is. Because you're right. You've always been in tech. In this role, you are fully on the tools.
Yep.
Daily. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I've finally written some playwright in anger so I can be with all the cool kids now, right? So, I was like, put playwright on the CV now, get loads of jobs.
What about all the WebDriver people? Are they still your mates?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
you can't get rid of the both. We shouldn't have a debate about that. That'll take an hour. No, WebDriver ain't going anywhere. I think you still, people listening, playwright serves a purpose, fix the context. But if you have a requirement, for example, where legally you say you're going to test a version of a browser, you can't use Playwright to do that because that's not the version of the browser that your customers are using, right? So perfectly great for lots of functional stuff, but I still think the most solid approach is to have a blend of tooling.
Okay.
But yeah, that's another great thing about this job is I'm in consultancy, so you just don't know what you're walking into. You don't know what the tech stacks are. I've done a bunch of stuff in the cloud. I know more AWS tools, as in I know of them than I thought there was. Lots of database tools, lots of data work. There's lots of talk about data. Obviously, it's becoming the kind of gold, right, of the software world. So I'm guessing the first highlight that comes to me, I would say is my job. Fully enjoying it.
The highlight for me is the book I wrote with Nicola. So I wrote a book this year called The Software Tester's Journey with my very, very cool and talented friend, Nicola Lindgren. Shout out to you, Nicola. And that was a lot of fun. And I would like to write more books. It was just nice. I'm trying to channel my inner Mark Winteringham because he loves writing a book or two.
What? Mark writing a book? I didn't know. You know what? He's never mentioned that to me.
For the folks that don't know, when Mark was writing his books, we would often joke with him because he would always say, "Oh, I was writing a book, or I did this chapter, or this, that, and the other." So we would always joke with him, like, "Oh, you writing a book, mate? You never mention it." His books are amazing.
I'm jealous of both of you, to be honest. I would love to have the discipline and energy to write a book. So I think you're both amazing.
It is such a getting your ideas out of your head. That's what. There's a general theme that I've been on, mission that I've been on since 3 years ago, exactly 3 years ago. Yeah, my mantra and my motto has been create more content than you consume. That is what is on my mind. Because I just feel like I have ideas and things that I wanted to say and I wasn't saying them. Because I wanted to effect some change in my own personal life, my own personal circumstances. And that was involved, and that would mean I have to share my ideas. It's a little bit scary. It's a little bit worrying. I started doing that. That led to this collaboration on the book with Nicola. And we would like to do more collabs, just trying to figure out what that might be. Nicola is nuts. Nuts in a good way. Nicola's got so many ideas and schemes and plans and things she wants to do that are all cool. So yeah, that's been the highlight for me, getting the book out, and then, one or two people have, given us some kind words, which is just
lovely.
Yeah, man, it's cool. People say, "Oh, this is helpful. This is helping right now." And we alluded to the job market at the moment, which is it's just grim. Basically, it's just grim. There's no other way to put it. It's nasty out there right now. And people say, "Oh, this will help me in my endeavors, whether I'm in a job looking to get a new job, or whether I'm out of work right now trying to find new work. It's going to help." And that's like, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's easily the book for me. Easy.
Good feels there. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, on the same topic of Nicola, so one of my other highlights was probably talking at ORDEV. So one of my missions for a long time has been to talk at developer or non-testing focused conferences.
Come on,
and
let's do it, Rich. Come on.
I think I'd done it once before and then had a bunch of rejections and kind of just, gave up. But ORDEV is like 1,200 people, predominantly developers. There is other tracks, but predominantly it was developers. And when I did the talk, I asked everyone in the room, I was like, how many of you are not identifying as a quality/tester? And it must have been 3/4 of the room put their hands up. And I was like, yes, this is what I wanted, right? I was in one of the smaller rooms and that was fine, but it was full and 75% of them weren't tester QE roles. And I was like, this is exactly why I wanted to do it because, I love talking at any conference. I love talking, but I love talking at any conference. But to start having more conversations with these other roles outside of, the day-to-day work, right? I have great conversations at work, but to do it in the wider environment, to talk to them about some of the challenges. And then so often what happened at ORDEV was saying the exact same thing as each other, but in completely different words that identified kind of what felt like a big gap, but actually it wasn't. It was just, to be honest with you, what it was is we have fine-tuned a lot of our language and our words around testing, right? Not
so who's we? Are you talking about the testing community that you've been part of?
Testing community, or I would say maybe some of the closer people that I work with, like yourself, right? If me and you are going to have a chat, we're probably going to be, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Okay.
You use this word.
Yeah.
And they've not been on that journey, right? So
Okay.
when they say something and I go, oh, what type is like, I don't know, let me make an example, like, oh, UI testing. And I go, well, what type of UI testing? Like, well, what do you mean? It's UI testing. It's like, well, you could argue there's these blah, blah, blah flavors of UI testing. And they're like, I never thought about that. I mean this type. And I was like, oh, well, that type's tricky. Because when you do that type, you've got all these mocks in place, and then those mocks need maintaining, and then it's a trade-off between is it worthwhile? And like, this guy was like, he'd not seen someone talk that like that. I don't know. I was going to say elegantly. That sounds wrong, right? But like with that amount of background and research and knowledge, and like it was just a completely different conversation than I would have with a tester about it. And then to also hear some of the broader challenges around unit testing, integration testing. It was just great to be in that environment and go to some of the other talks. Like I went to I went to a pipeline talk. And I've seen lots of people in our community talk about pipelines.
Yeah.
We call out Abby Bangser quite a lot, right? She did a lot of work around CI.
Abby Bangser.
Yeah,
I'm president of the Abby Bangser fan club. Co-president with Melissa.
But again, I heard this dev give the exact same talk that I've seen several times, but in the framing of themselves, and it comes across completely different. There's little nuances that I was able to pick up.
So when you say the exact same talk, are you talking about the theme and the topic?
The theme of the talk is in structuring a pipeline to make it more efficient, to make it faster.
So you're like, this is how to build a great pipeline. You're like, okay, I've heard this talk before, but the person delivering it is coming at it from a slightly different kind of angle.
Exactly that, yes. So usually we're hearing the quality testing benefits of this pipeline change. Whereas they were talking about that, but as well as some of the developer experience of changing this pipeline, what it meant for dev, how it made their life easier. Whereas, we touch on that in the talks I've been to, but really it was more about how we make testing easier. How does that make testing more efficient? How do we get that testing information quicker? But here it was more about the dev experience of like knowing whether I've broken it, knowing whether I've had a knock-on change. Like it was just slightly different framing, but opened my mind up to a few more like ways of framing some of the work.
Say it was different. Like, what do you? Is there any particular difference that springs to mind? Like, when it came to their perspective, what did they give you that you hadn't quite heard before, or was there something you hadn't quite realized? Like, oh, I didn't realize that it had this benefit, or it gave them this struggle, or whatever.
No, I don't think there was anything. I don't think there was any new information in the talk for me. But it was more their framing of it as how it related to, like we talk about getting information for bugs, like, and we want to, maybe there's bugs, maybe there's information. Their framing was like, have I broken it? I don't want to break it. That's not what I want to make sure I've done good work here. It was like on my tests, we talk about adding tests, but they were talking about adding their tests. And then they were talking about code quality and linting, and I know a lot of these, other aspects of what we would define as quality, but very much framed from them wanting to have done a good job. Like they want to have done a good job, whereas sometimes our framing is all framed around the software, right? Is the software still doing what it's meant to do? So it was just that slightly different, more framing.
That is interesting. So it sounds like it's about their the developer experience, literally, like their quality of life.
Yeah, the quality of their work.
We're like, this makes it easier to learn about the state of the product.
Exactly. Yeah,
that is interesting.
And I've had little bits of that from a tester experience, as in writing tests and adding them to the pipeline.
For sure.
But to hear it from like this angle of, we have far more developers committing code all day long, right, and waiting for this like feedback. So it's just it was just a very different framing. And then again, a lot of the other general talks of like how to manage people, how to do well, your career growth, kind of the generic stuff that we kind of get at every conference these days. But again, hearing it from people who identify as developers or engineering managers or these kind of other roles. So it was just a really good experience to get in another environment. And then one last benefit that I just want to shout out, me and you talk a lot about networking, and I'm pretty sure we're going to mention another event very soon. But like we talk a lot about
which one that will be.
Yeah. We talk a lot about networking and stuff, but the thing I loved there as well was I did I did talk to the people that I knew, right?
Hold on, keep talking, keep talking.
Yeah. So I did
Oh,
talk to the people that I knew, but then
yeah,
they introduced me to people that they know. So, for example, Gita, she goes to lots of different events, right? Agile events, dev events,
does,
testing events.
does,
Um,
man.
yeah, and I ended up chatting to her in the bar, and then she introduced me to a load of developers. Turns
Yeah,
out I knew one of them, whose name Martin Freites, who's from Manchester, works at Honeycomb. I was like, I knew his name, but then sat next to her, I was like, oh, it's you. And then I
yeah.
ended up hanging out with him. He ended up hanging out with loads of developers. So, it was just nice to build that network. And then, we follow each other on LinkedIn and Bluesky, which makes me aware of what they're up to now. And, it's expanding beyond that testing quality bubble. And I found that a really good side. I didn't go for that, but I ended up naturally doing that because I like to go
Till
to the pub and the
un,
socials. So,
until they realise you're not actually as friendly as you.
oh yeah, we'll see. Friendly dev. It's my new name.
It's pretty sick. Um, what else? What else springs to mind for me from this year? Um, yeah, on the topic of conferences, I mean, I went to PeersCon earlier
Yeah.
this year, which was, I got to say, for a first-time conference, never been ran before, hadn't even ran a meetup before.
Yeah.
Just completely ridiculous. It's like
Yeah.
so good.
It was
Like,
good.
really, really good. The quality of the talks was amazing. I think the one that I keep thinking about the most since then is Beth Clark. I hope that's her last name. I hope I've got your last name correct, Beth. Beth talked about joining a team. Like, she was the newest member of this team. This team had been together for ages, working in a domain. I don't think she'd had experience of the domain,
Yeah.
but she was there to be a change agent and help them adopt a DevOps culture and a DevOps practice. And when she was talking about some of the things that she did and the benefits that they realized, absolutely amazing. Tangent, Beth is not in that team anymore because she's decided to go and explore space. What? Too sick. She's doing a PhD. Don't ask what the PhD is in. I'll put it in the show notes because I'm not that smart. She's way smarter than me. But that is cool. But yeah, that talk was amazing. But all the talks are really good, really high caliber. They made space for new speakers. The new speakers smashed it. Well, I say new, they hadn't been on a stage in front of an audience that big.
Yeah.
And that was great. The venue was absolutely fantastic. It was really, really big and spacious, and the food was good. For me personally, slash selfishly, it was in Nottingham. I'm in Leicester. That's like rolling out of bed and being at the conference, basically, compared to what I usually do to get to a conference. So that was fan-bloody-tastic. It was super easy to hang out afterwards. I didn't have to worry about anything. I hung out with Rich for a while after the end. That was brilliant. So shout out to the peers, the testing peers. Be sure, if you're already listening to the Testing Peers podcast, what are you doing? Sort yourself out. Go and subscribe immediately. Well, maybe not
Yeah.
immediately. Finish listening to our podcast first, then go subscribe. But do subscribe because they are awesome.
Yeah, that was
that
a
was
really good event,
a
and
big highlight for me, man. It was really, really good.
I love
And there's
going
another
back
one
to
in
Nottingham.
2025.
Yeah, there is. It's coming back. It's like
And then,
£15, I think, right now as well.
yeah. I mean, value for money levels off the chart.
I actually continue to listen to the podcast next year because I accidentally bought another ticket because I forgot I'd bought one. So I bought one as soon as it got announced that it was back. And then I saw an announcement that said they were, going up from £15 to £30, right? It's not in the grand scheme of conferences, it's still not a lot of money. But I thought, oh, quick, I need to buy it, and then I bought another one, so I've got two. So I'm probably going to give one away at some point, maybe on the pod.
Do you know what?
But I loved going back to Nottingham because that's where my community work started. Like, I was living in Nottingham
It
when
was, wasn't it? Yeah.
I did the NOTS test meetup, and then we did
Yeah.
the Midlands Exploratory Workshop on testing.
I'd love to reboot that in the 2025.
Yeah, I started my my blog in Nottingham. I started contracting in Nottingham when I was living there. So yeah, pretty much most of I would say that's really where things took off when I was living in Nottingham. But yeah, another highlight, mate. You know, we've got to say it's this podcast where this will be our 13th episode. We were aiming for
Lucky for some.
Yeah, we were aiming for 26, but we did start late. So I think if we'd been truly consistent, I think we might have got closer to 19. I've not done the math.
I think we would have been I think we probably I'm pretty sure we missed at least 5 episodes that we could have done.
Yeah, but you know what? We'd started from scratch. I know we had a little bit of experience of doing this, but you know, I've loved every episode so far. I can't wait to do more. Talking about events, the one we did at ATD Live, I definitely want to do more that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed that. Kind of on the spot, broadcaster, news reporter kind of vibe to it. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you to everyone who popped in and allowed us to like just lasso them as they went past and grab them in, and shout out to everybody who kind of just waved at us as they were walking past. That was fun. It was just fun. It was a very different dynamic than me being at home in my office. Rich is at home in his office. We were together for the first time recording in the same location. That was beautiful. The fact we got to do it in the middle of a conference was even better. And the fact we got to do it in the middle of that conference, because ATD, the energy levels are different. You know, man, I think Richie described it as a festival disguised as a conference.
Yeah, or a conference within a festival. You know, when you go to all these different tents, it's like you're actually at a festival, but there's just so happens to be a conference going on. But over there's cool people hanging out. Over there's vendors, you know, we want to chat to you. There's food vendors. Like, it's just, that's how I feel it is.
It's a very accurate description of the thing. So yeah, this podcast though, man, it's for me, again, going back to that mantra that I came up with, create more content than you consume. And I can remember the genesis of it was literally just Rich, because we'd been chatting a lot it was this time last year. And I remember him pinging me on, pretty sure it was on WhatsApp. He said something along the lines of, Vern, if we ever do a podcast or something,
Let's see if I can find it. Let's have a look.
We need to call it the Vernon Richard Show. And me being me, with my sense of humour, I was like, we have to do the podcast now because that name is too good. So we have to figure out what are we going to like. When are we going to do this thing? How are we going to do it? What's it going to look like? So we had a conversation, and that's turned into this, and it's been fantastic actually. And I'm with you. Like I've found
it.
Oh, go on, read it out.
28th of November.
Boom.
I've obviously been sending you lots of stuff because I've started it with another podcast / content idea.
we were going mad on the ideas this time last year.
The Vernon Richard Show. See what I did there? ... We'd just randomly chat about our weeks in testing and maybe we'd have some guests. Vernon's reply is, that's genius. Let's do it. Deal. That's how it started.
We can't let that name go to waste. It's too good a name. Have to do something with it.
Yeah.
And here we are, like a year later. We've done 13 episodes. Learned a lot. We had a chat last week about some things that we'd like to do in 2025. Excited to put those into practice. But if you have any ideas for us, any advice for us, any feedback for us, anything that you think would help make the pod better, that would be amazing. Oh, another shout out to Nicola, by the way, because she told me that I could use my iPhone as a camera. So I'm using my iPhone as a webcam right now, using the continuity camera. I don't know if it's any better or not. So I'd love to know if you think it's any better. I'm going to check it out on the YouTube channel when we release the podcast. But yeah, any other advice? Amazing.
So now that Nicola came up again, I think I just want to, I'm going to connect the dots here, because I mentioned Ordev before as a great experience, but another reason why it was a great experience is I spent quite a bit of time with Nicola, talking about working with you, talking about writing that book, and talking about just general ideas. for the future. And me and Vernon have been chatting about a lot. We've got things coming. There's still not enough to really tell you what's coming.
Yeah.
But there's stuff coming. I'm excited about it. It's the combination of a lot of ideas that are kind of morphed into one idea now, and it kind of does just about fit and work. But yeah, we were chatting about lots of ideas. So I think this idea that we have, I'm hoping to get her involved in it as well. And I think, like, to what you just said, I've been slacking on content this year. I had great expectations. Like, I did up this whole office, spent like $2,000 buying stuff that I didn't even have the $2,000. My plan was to spend the money and start earning it, start doing stuff to get the money back, right?
You
and then
generate the money, right?
and I did none of it, right? So, whiteboard testing was coming back. I think I've written on this whiteboard like twice. Like, and I mean, I genuinely mean that. I've written on it twice. So
maybe that's an idea. Maybe each time we record, you can have something written in the background. Maybe.
Yeah, that's a good shout. But yeah, so for me, like, looking forward to next year, like, definitely want to get the big idea off the ground. But yeah, YouTube, I'm gonna go on record now. If I have not started my YouTube channel and there is not regular videos being posted on it, please DM me, shout at me, encourage me, mock me, whatever it takes for me to respond. Because I've got so many great ideas around YouTube. I know how to do it all. I've got all the content in my mind. I've got all these ideas, and I've kind of fell out of love with writing. I think the demise of Twitter is kind of, well, no, sorry, let me reframe that. The popularity of Twitter when it was in its prime stopped me kind of blogging, and like lengthy threads became my kind of content medium. And now that I've shifted back to, now that Twitter's kind of died, and it has died, LinkedIn, it's not the same kind of vibe when it comes to these lengthy posts. Like, when I see a very lengthy post, don't always read it. Whereas on Twitter, it was because it was like broken up into little tweets. I'd read it. Yeah. And now Bluesky is popular, but I'm almost want to be a different person there now. I don't want to be the 20, all about testing as it kind of was on Twitter a little bit. So basically, long story short, I think video is my right medium, and I wanna definitely commit to that. So yeah, 2025 for me. I'm hoping lots of content, get lots of ideas out there on YouTube. I've told Vernon my little. I've still got these post-its that I've got my themes of my videos on them. So yeah, that's my plans for next year, as well as this. We'll give you a little hint about the project. Me and Vernon, testing education needs a shake-up, and I think we've got a plan. We'll see what happens, but I think we've got a plan to shake up not testers education, but testing education.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to pick up on something you said about Bluesky. I don't think I heard this directly from Tobias Gaia. Am I saying your name right, Tobias? Is it Gaia or Gaia? I never know. Is it Gaia or Gaia? Anyway,
no idea.
He's awesome. And there was some advice around, you don't have to be the same person that you were on Twitter.
Oh, absolutely not.
Like,
no. Yeah.
It's a different platform.
Yeah.
When you're showing a different side of your personality. So, swearing incoming. Fuck that shit. Like, just do. Like I said in one of the early episodes, Twitter, for me, is a specific moment in time.
Yeah.
Or it finished. It had an end date. And now it's X. So, Twitter's done. Now people are moving elsewhere. Bluesky is one of those elsewheres. Mastodon is another one.
Yep.
And so, we've all grown and changed and evolved since then. So, if we've got different interests and we've just remixed ourselves a little bit, as we all almost certainly have, all good. Because I agree with you. I think LinkedIn I think Bluesky is one of those places where you can be your whole self. That's what I think.
Agreed. Yeah.
So that's what I'm starting to get more and more involved in Blue Sky as more and it's that what do they call it? Is it a network effect where the more people that are on the thing, the more you want to be on the thing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like Cassandra Leon just joined, did it, and that made me go on Blue Sky when I saw her post. So, I'm on. So, cool. So I went to follow her. You sent me a very rude message today, which I shared on Blue Sky.
Did you put it on Blue Sky as well?
Yes, I did, Bradshaw. Yes, I did. I was deeply shocked and horrified when people enjoyed it and left, and Marit found it very outrageous.
It was great. I need to check that one. I've only seen the LinkedIn replies. But one, like, just to conclude that thing, like saying looking forward to 2025, like, and you spoke about the book, right? I think everyone shares, like, anyone working in a professional testing IT software role, we all share in some form of another, right? Some of us do it more intentfully and prolific than others, but even if you're just doing it in your day-to-day job and you're helping the junior who joined, and that's your preferred method is one-to-one talking with them or helping out on the Slack, for example, or you prefer writing, in your case, right, you prefer the writing, you would love to do more of that. Or we said, we did an episode, didn't we, where we spoke about how to contribute to the industry and the wider community. I'm repeating that exactly now. But it's like, find the medium that you like. And like I said, mine is video, and I just need to bite the bullet and start it, commit to doing, a handful of videos, get the feedback, get the feedback, but also see how I feel. Did I enjoy it? Did it bring me joy? Did I enjoy the process? Has it given me what I thought it would from want to get knowledge out my head, but also kind of want to do it in a way that's helpful for other people, not just for me. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to do next year.
I think whiteboard testing. If whiteboard testing can make a comeback, that would be sick.
Well, it's on the list, but it's whiteboard Wednesday.
Oh, whiteboard Wednesday. Okay,
Yeah.
rebrand. Okay, dig it. If we're talking about resuming or rebooting or starting something, 2 years ago, around now, this time, this is a pivotal time of year for me. Clearly, about 2 years ago, I wrote the first and to date only issue of my newsletter.
Ah, nice.
And my dear friend Jit, he's getting a little bit more firm, would be nice. A bit like, okay, Vernon, you're basically fucking around. Why are you not writing your newsletter? You've got some good ideas. You stop pissing around. You should definitely go subscribe to Jit's newsletter as well. The quality engineering newsletter.
Yeah.
Go do that immediately. It's very, very cool. But yeah, he's always encouraging me to saying, Vernon, you need to
get on it.
Start writing again because you were good at it. So feeling blessed that I've got such encouraging friends around me, including Rich when he's not been there. You know me.
All right, we should clear the game. Let me, seeing as I'm reading from WhatsApp today, let's just share what I did. So I got to work today. I got there about 30 seconds after this task was explained of what they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
here we go. He's trying to set it up as it's not my fault, everyone.
No, it is my fault, but this is just my sense of humor as well. So the whole thing was like to message someone in your life who you're thankful for and send them a message of gratitude, right? And I got there just as they said go, and then everyone starts getting their phones out, and I'm like, oh, what's going on? So I messaged Vernon and said, mate, just message him because work is making us do a moment of gratitude where we have to message someone to say how awesome they are. And I just want to look like I'm actually doing it. Now,
absolutely shocking from you, Bradshaw. You're better than that.
If you read between the lines, I was sending you a message of gratitude to tell you how awesome you are, how much I've enjoyed this podcast, how much I'm proud you've written your book, how much I've been proud that you've been here for me this year to help me with what I'm doing. So thank you, Vernon. And I was planning it ready for this podcast now so everyone else can listen to me.
No one's buying it. Literally no one is buying that, Richard. No one. That last sentence is doing a lot of work. That's all I can say.
All right, okay, mate. Okay. Well, I'm very thankful.
A lot of reading between the lines is necessary to extract all of that information.
I'll look at the camera. Vernon, I appreciate you. There we go. Your microphone's done that thing where it cuts you off because you laugh so abruptly. They're like, the Chris thinks that you're like surrounded by noise.
It's so ridiculously insincere. But I appreciate it, Rich. I
know
appreciate
it's, mate. No worries.
But yeah, so that's the commitment I want to do is I want to, I was going to set such a low bar. So I want to write one newsletter next year.
Just no, you got to do two. You got to at least do two.
Yeah, I'll double it. Yeah, we're going for
at least do two.
Exponential output, ladies and gentlemen.
And ideally close to each other, like within at least a few weeks, ideally.
The intention with that newsletter was to write weekly, so that'll be the goal. Is to write weekly newsletter.
I hope you do it. I like you. I'm the same as you. I think we read a lot, right? And I think we've done this as a call to action in the community in the past as well. It's like I read a lot, I digest a lot, but I actually digest it more when I either write a good reply to that person or I quote post the thing with my own reflections, having read or listened to that piece of content. And that is what most of the best newsletters are. And even not even that big. It's like, hey, read this post from Vernon, made me reflect on A, recommend you read it, rinse and repeat. Or you do a more structured newsletter, which is basically blogs/articles within a newsletter. Depends what your style is.
It's two flavors. It's two. Either you're curating
that's the
information,
word.
or it's an original thought kind of newsletter. And so they both work, and you can even blend them, but they both work quite well. And so, where I started is with the original thought type thing, but over the last 2 years of not writing, I was thinking, oh, maybe I could write at the same time. Maybe, I don't know, but like one weekly newsletter, which is just my thoughts and ideas and perspectives and hot takes, and the other one is a more, here's some cool stuff that I've read or watched or listened to, or that kind of thing, and do one each per week, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah. So, question then. So, talking about 2025.
Yeah.
I'm currently I have just literally deleted 3/4 of my Google Drive, right? I've tidied it. Yeah. I've tidied it all up. I've organized everything. I've clearly lost a lot of stuff that I thought I had. But anyway, I've tidied up my Google Drive. The next job is my blog. And I'm dropping the friendly tester alias and just going
still a tester, right? That's
great. Well, exactly. I'm just dropping. Like, it's obvious now. Everyone knows I'm not friendly. All right, so the game's over. It was a good 10 years while it lasted, right? It's all grand.
Finally.
Back to what I was trying to get to. My question was, so I'm going to rebrand as like just Richard Bradshaw, right? But I know that you have a lot of interests as well as on testing, entrepreneurial shit. Are your newsletters just going to be about testing and quality, or kind of Vernon's life in tech?
Well, kind of. They kind of will be about quality, but it's the things that I'm reading about around even writing, which is meta. Even the things I'm learning about writing help me in my quality engineering, my test leadership, my test strategy, my quality strategy, all of that stuff, quality coaching, it all feeds into that in ways that I didn't anticipate. And I want to write more about that, because I think that is part of what is going to help keep people successful in this ever-changing landscape. So I'll have a chance to try out some of these things in my job as well, and I'll have a chance to just share the idea and see if other people can take that baton and run with it and see what they can do with it. But it isn't going to be, it will be about quality, but it also won't be at the same time.
Yeah, no, I understand. Well, I would say like you're kind of a person that wears many hats, right? So you wear many hats in your day job. You're wearing many hats when it comes to learning, and you often also wear a hat, right? So we
Yeah,
want to get a bit of a taste of all. Like, basically, I'm encouraging you to, when it comes to these newsletters, to give a little insight as well into that wider studying that you've done into these topics, away from
yeah.
like all that coaching stuff you've done in the past, technical
That's
leadership.
always
Yeah,
yeah.
nice, nice, nice,
That's always
nice.
been part of the. That's always been part of the makeup of what I'm trying to write about. Because I think a lot of the challenges that we have, if we're in a testing specialist role, just as the years go by and by, we're all, whether we like it or not, being forced to become generalists.
Yeah.
And here's a take for you: AI is just making it air quotes easier for everybody to be a generalist.
Agreed.
So then the question becomes, okay, so how do I position myself? How do I market myself? How do what does it mean to be a good generalist in your work? And I want to kind of talk about some of that stuff, because
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. I think that's a challenge we're all going to have to face. And that's where, I've said it before, and I've got to start writing about this in 2025. I'm absolutely convinced that this whole entrepreneurship perspective is going to be, the skills of being an entrepreneur are the things that are going to help you. So you don't have to be an entrepreneur in terms of starting a business. There's two ways you can look at it. You can look at it as saying, I just need to be entrepreneurial in my role.
Yep.
Which, and then the second way you can look at it is to say, I'm going to be an intrapreneur. So I'm going to be an entrepreneur within an organization.
Okay.
And so
Right. Yeah.
it's so I'll wrap some more about that in my newsletter in 2025. Yes.
I like the sound of that. Like, you say, you mentioned the generalist and like, the use of AI. But the first thing that comes to mind for me is, I remember, like, God, like, it must be eight years ago, me and Mark Winteringham doing some training. We'd always be amazed at how people would run into an issue with, let's say, their code, right, or whatever, and then just not Google it. It's like just Google the error. I don't know. We'd come over, and when we basically started, we'd come over, and they'd call us over, and the first thing we would say to anyone, because just to be clear, this is not me and Mark being pricks. The point of the training was, we used to run it as experiential. So we wanted people to struggle, to find their ways out, to not rely on the trainers, as in, we're going to hold your hand and just, you're not really going to learn how to deal with it. And when it comes to coding and automation, a lot of the time, you get all these weird errors. Every machine's different. And we would come over and we'd go, have you Googled it? And they'd say no. And I'd walk off. We'd just walk off. We'd say Google it. And then we'd say, if you don't get an answer, call us back. And 90% of the time, they'd get an answer. Whereas now I'm seeing the same now, but it's like the next level, isn't it? It's like, have you asked AI or ChatGPT in most cases? Have you tried to ask it this way or ask it that way? Or, have you gone through I am not by no means an expert, but have you gone through the several flavors of ways you can ask the AI? And has that helped you keep moving?
Exactly.
And that's the I don't know, the superpower that I think people, like the industry, originally it was like, it's going to replace us. But I think now it's actually, how can we harness it for superpowers to make us more efficient and more effective?
Listen, and obviously I'm biased, so apply however much salt you want to what I'm about to say. But just feel that the skill set that you have as a software tester, that you've been building up for however long you've been building it up, whether it's 6 months, 6 years, whatever, who cares? You're working on these skills. They are they are giving us exactly what we are going to need to thrive. So whenever you talk, you could be talking about in 2025, you could be talking about being on a team where you're the only tester amongst a bunch of, developers, people who are writing production code, shipping it off to customers and stuff. Your ability to listen and ask questions and facilitate and orchestrate, aka lead,
Yeah.
That's the thing that's going to set you apart, blended with your hard testing skills.
Yeah.
When it comes to using ChatGPT, again, not an expert. Please go and listen to people like Dr. Tariq King. Please go and listen to my other good friend, Martin Hinier. They know more about this topic than me, but I find that because I am good at asking questions, I find it very easy to use. I mean, I say ChatGPT because that's the one I basically use, but there, you
Yeah.
could be
Yeah.
talking about Claude, you could be talking about,
Any
was it Llama,
LLM. Yeah. Yeah.
any LLM you like. My ability to ask questions, because I treat it like I'm talking to
Yeah.
somebody. I know it's not a human, but my conversational ability is very helpful in that situation, and so I just think we are so beautifully positioned. That's what I'm excited about for 2025. That's another thing I'm excited about for 2025 is how people are going to really start embracing this stuff and unlocking some stuff. Rich looks like he's just had an idea, and I want to know what it is.
No, yeah, I can't remember the name, the person, but there was a great post on LinkedIn. It's exactly what you just described, but they framed it around exploratory testing. So when we used to do it, when we do exploratory testing, right, we try something, we get the results, we interpret, we learn, we reframe our next test. That's exactly what I do when I talk to LLMs. I
Yeah,
ask it, I go, you have not remotely understood what I asked you to do, but you understood this bit. So I'll reframe that bit and I'll get the response. And then I don't trust the response. So now I've got this response. I'm like, my next test is how
right.
can I trick you, or how can I make you double down or whatever with the response you've given me, and be like, that code you've given me, are you sure it works? And then sometimes you get, oh, you're right, I've made a mistake. And then it's like, no, you didn't. That code would have worked. So now, you know what I mean? Like, those are the same skills. It's like design, apply, and, learn, and then go again. And I can't remember who wrote it. I don't know who it was. So if you're listening and it was you, thank you. But there's definitely something in there.
I think that is that to me again. In my as yet completely and utterly naive view of how to get the best out of these tools, that makes a lot of sense to me because that's what I tend to do. So I'll work with the tool, and I'll be having a conversation with it, get it to help me, and then I'll say, okay, but if you were going to critique your own answer, what would you say? And it was like, oh well, like cool,
Yeah.
and then I can start to munge and figure out, and and say,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
okay,
That's
so like
it.
that. But
Yeah.
mate, we are, and this is not some magical skill that testers have. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I know that we have honed it. I know that subset of humans on the face of the earth have definitely honed that skill, and that's the skill that's going to help us with these tools, because these
Absolutely.
tools are becoming so ubiquitous that we're going to be using them whether we like it or not.
Without a doubt. And even
Yeah,
if you're not, you'll be under the hood,
yeah,
it's probably using one. So,
that's what
um,
exactly. Whether you realize it or not, you're going to be using it.
and
So
another example of this, I know we talk about exploratory testing, but, underlying technique in there or knowledge is heuristics, right? They're the same thing when
yes,
it comes to prompt engineering. It's just a bunch of like heuristics that may or may not work in getting the LLM to give you a more sensible answer. So yeah, I agree. We are, and sorry, another on top of that, the other idea you triggered me was you're talking about us being positioned from a leadership point of view, but I would say we're also very positioned from a generalist specialist point of view, because of usually to do good quality engineering work, you've got to touch on all the disciplines. You're critiquing tickets, you're understanding the data, you're looking at the software, you're aware of the pipeline and the cloud and the environment. We're also doing all this testing. We have enough knowledge of all of those areas to supercharge ourselves with an AI to be good enough, not to be the specialist, but to be good enough to be a decent generalist at writing tickets, at creating data, at doing data quality, at building a pipeline. We have enough of that knowledge. And again, I hope enough people give themselves that benefit and credit. I'm not saying the other roles don't do this. They do. Devs moved into testing, devs moved into pipelines. right? There's lots of crossover that's already naturally been happening, but we've been doing it for a lot longer. And we've got
Yeah,
a lot of knowledge and skills out there that I think have, as you said, set us up ready to really harness the powers of these tools.
quickly. Yeah,
Quicker than other people for sure. Other roles, yeah.
or with using them quickly. That's what I think
Yep.
we're able to do.
Absolutely.
So
What
what's enough
else?
of what we're going to do in 2025? Like, if we covered,
Yeah, what else?
it's about
What?
right. Better.
Yeah, business ideas. Got business ideas. Want to get? I would say like a more general thing for me that me and you have been chatting about as well is this. Like, and I've seen other people share this kind of narrative. It's like discipline and consistency. That's kind of
Consistency,
that's the pattern that I want to get myself into. You know, I've read a lot of talks around habits and stuff like this, and you know, I agree they're a good way of getting to this consistency. But that's my main mission is to not. I want to be as consistent as I can, but I also want to stop. Like, we didn't do any negatives, right? Let's just do a few very quick negatives, or at least Richard negatives. I want to get the consistency, but I want to stop beating myself up when I don't do it, because I go too hard. Like, I really knock myself down for not being consistent, that I then slow down any chances I've got of getting back to being as consistent as I was, because I like I said, I go to town on myself. So it's like, you know what? It's okay to miss a week. It's okay to feel tired that night and not write that blog post. It's like, and I would say when it becomes not okay is when you do the same thing the next week or the week after, right? I would say that's when it maybe, it might be different reasons, but if you are seeking to be more consistent, then, I think that's when it becomes something you should beat yourself up about or make changes or like have a reflection. But like for me, I'm doing it like for the slightest miss. It's like, you said you were going to write a blog tonight and you wrote nothing. Like that's what it's like.
What? Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like you're trash. No one would have read it anyway. You didn't write because you got no ideas. You got nothing to write about. You suck. Right? Like that's exactly what I do. And yeah, I need to not do that because I think not do it, but improve how I do it, handle it differently, notice the trigger, and then I think that will help me with my consistency goals, as I said, around YouTube, businesses, and so forth. So
consistency is the secret sauce to all the things. Yeah. Like my friend / mentor, Dickie Bush, he always talks about don't miss twice. So whatever cadence you've agreed to do for whatever thing, if it's one a week, it's cool. If you miss a week, it's fine because shit happens. But don't miss 2 weeks in a row. That's what you should. That's what you should aim to do. Don't miss, if it's some daily thing, don't miss 2 days in a row. Missing one is normal. Like this, that's going to happen. But don't miss 2 in a row, because now you're being consistent about not doing the thing.
So
you need to be consistent doing the thing. So don't miss twice, because you're building consistency no matter what what's going on. You're building consistency.
Yep.
So be consistent in doing the thing rather than not doing the thing.
Nice. Well, I think we've covered all the things I would thought about discussing. Can you think of anything else?
I just want to. This year has had some ups and downs for me personally, man. So shout out to the people who helped me on the downs and also helped me propel me to the ups. That was pretty sick. So shout out to all of you. And I think 2025 is going to be more of the same. I think 2025 is going to be difficult because of the things that I'm trying to achieve. It's probably going to be more difficult than I'm even telling myself right now. But it will be worth it. So as I maintain that consistency, I'm going to be doing some cool stuff with a bunch of cool people, and I think they're all related to each other. That's my hope. And then this time next year, I think life is going to look different. My feeling. So this time last year, my expectation for 2024 was that when I arrived there in a years later, so now, life would look very different because I would have done this thing, that thing, and another thing. I didn't do all of the things that I'd hoped to do. I'm not going to lie, but life looks very different now that I'm here. I am very content with where I am in 2024, and imagine what I'm going to do in 2025 with people like my friend Dean, my friend Nicola, you, Rich, Jit, you know what I mean, Baron. Sure, there's just a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff going to go down. So yeah, this time next year should hopefully be pretty fucking cool, man.
I think I'm going to share the same, like, because my therapy session last week, the last one for the year, we looked at where I was a year ago, like 4 weeks after potentially, not being here anymore, no house, not seeing my son, like stressed out of like my mind, running out of money because I didn't have a job, no car, and now a year on, I've got my own house, got my own job, going to be seeing my son pretty much 50-50 from next year. Been able to, do conferences. My finances are significantly better. Mentally, physically, I've probably never been better. So yeah, it's been an amazing year, and I think the thing I look at is, like you just said as well, like all that stuff took a lot of energy, took a lot of power, it took a lot of, good work to make those things happen. So I know I can do the good work, and now it's just the framing and the problems are different now. So, I'm hoping I can use the same kind of energy levels and drive to get where I am today to continue with some of these goals that we spoke about this year. And you know what? I think I can. Actually, I know I can. So yeah, let's see. Awesome sauce.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Exciting time.
So,
just know what you're up to in 2025.
Exactly. Yes.
The pod. Make a 5-star review wherever you listen. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us how your year's been. Tell us what you want to do next year. Tell us what you want us to do next year. We'd love to hear some of these ideas. And yeah, we will see you in 2025. Awesome.
Indeed, see you in 2025.
Thank you
for
for
listening,
Christmas,
everyone. Have a blessed one.
Yeah.
And Happy New Year.
Bye, everyone.
That's too soon. I'll that one.
Well, Happy New Year.
See ya.
Add it in. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. See you in 2025.
Days.
There we go.